So this chant that I just did, I'm going to read you the whole chapter. No, I'm going to read you the whole chapter. No, I'm not. And then we're going to have a quiz on it. No, I'm going to. Just kidding. I'm going to read you the verse. And this is from the Bhagavad Gita. The self is never born, nor does it ever perish. Nor having come into existence will it, capital I-T, cease to be in the future. This self is unborn, it's eternal, it's imperishable, it's ancient, it's ageless. Happy about that, right? The self is not killed, even when the body is slain. And that's from chapter 2, verse 20 of the Gita. And so that chant that I did was honoring the teachings of the Gita. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And so when I read this, first of all, I'm happy to note that we're not really aging, because I don't know about you, some of us are much younger in the room, but for those of us who are like about my age, you look in the mirror and you're just like, I still feel like an adolescent. I'm still like a 12-year-old sometimes. But who is this in the mirror, this aging thing, you know? Who is that? Who is that? You know, I am that, but I'm not really that. Like, that's not the that who I am when I look in the mirror, you know? I'm not this body. I'm not this mind. I'm not this personality, I'm not this intellect. And I also believe in my belief system, you know, in reincarnation. So if I do believe in that, and this isn't about promoting, this is just about sharing my experience, you know, in terms of this is what I believe. I believe in reincarnation, and I believe that, you know, there's many embodiments. So if that's true, then I am not this body. Because I've been a couple of bodies. You know, I have a whole bunch of mothers and fathers, and a whole bunch of sisters and brothers, and a whole bunch of stories. And you know, that litany that Kevin read about my bio, it's like my bio. It's not my bio. I'm just borrowing that bio. This time around, this embodiment. I gotta tell you, there's a story in the Hindu tradition that I'm going to share with you that I think kind of sums this up a little bit. Because when I say all of this stuff that I'm talking about, you know, the true I am nature, and the true self, and the blessed self, and the higher self, and who am I, and all of that, I get bogged down in my intellect about it. I'm trying to figure it out. It's like, I don't understand what it's like. I kind of understand what she's saying, but I really don't. I really like when she comes to talk, but I really don't understand a word she's saying. So I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a story about a lion cub. This lion cub got separated from his family. And I know you're going to think that this is sort of like Ice Age, the movie Ice Age, but it isn't. It isn't. It's another story. And it's way before. Is Ice Age Disney or is it Universal? It's Pixar, so it's Disney. It's real, right? Owned by Disney? I don't know, whatever, doesn't matter. This story is a Hindu story, and it's ancient. So there's this little cub that gets lost from his family. And he wanders off, and he's lost, and this family of sheep welcome him. And they bring him into their little herd. Do sheep have a herd? They have a flock. Thank you. Very good. I'm glad. Excellent. Yes. Good interaction. So they bring him into the flock, and they raise him, but they raise him as a sheep. They don't understand or realize, because he's such a little baby, he's a little cub. They're not afraid of him. He's not, you know, lion. He's a little cub. So they raise him in the flock. And, you know, they do their sheep thing. I mean, I don't know, you know. So they're doing that like whole thing all the time, and they're eating, and they're grazing, and they're, you know, and he's doing that too. He gets older, as we all do.
he ages, and he's this huge, gigantic lion, you know. But they don't realize it, kind of, because they're just so used to him, you know. It's Frank, Frank, you know. So one day Frank is like on his own, and he's got curiosity, and he's moving around, and comes up against a lion. Huge, huge, majestic, powerful, scary lion. And Frank flips out. He's like flipping, freaking, and running. The lion is like, is this guy out of his mind? Like, what is he doing? Why is he? Hey, I'm trying to say hello to you. I'm trying to hug you, man. What's up? You know? So he goes to grab Frank, and Frank is like, bah, bah. He's like, what's the matter with you? Snap out of it. Grabs him, and he says, well, what's wrong? And he's like, oh, please don't eat me. Please, I'm so afraid of you. Oh, my God. He said, afraid of you? You're just like me. What are you talking about? No. Because you're not, I'm probably doing a goat right now, not a sheep, right? It doesn't matter. He brings him over to a still lake, and he shows him his reflection. He says, look at yourself. Look at your reflection. You are me. I am you. The same. You're not a sheep. And it was in that moment that Frank achieved enlightenment. So I gotta tell you, I love that story every time I hear it. And I love it because it really makes sense to me. It's like, I forgot who I am. I was raised by sheep. What I mean by that is that I went to sleep. And I all the time. I hear all my sheep friends doing it. You know, the negativity, focusing on the fear, focusing on the loneliness, focusing on the depression, focusing on the anxiety. All of that is just bleeding. B-L-E-E-T-I-N-G. Bleating? Blating?
L-E.
She's correcting me. All of that is that's all it is. It's not real. And then something happens to me, and all of a sudden I get a jolt. I get a crisis. I see another lion, you know? And that other lion can be a spiritual preceptor, it can be a teacher, it could be a guide, it could be a book that I read that inspires me, or it could be a crisis that happens, that shakes me, that jolts me. Losing my job, losing a loved one, breakup of a relationship, whatever it is, foreclosure. You know, something that's like, I'm so afraid of it. But it's the jolt, it's the crisis itself that's the other lion. And so then what happens is I have no other choice but to go to my emotional, spiritual bottom and look in the mirror and go, who am I? Who am I? Where am I? Where am I going? I also want to share with you what not only being a sheep looks like, because I think that now sheep are going to get a bad rap today, but you know, they're wonderful, right? But being a sheep is like being asleep. Being a sheep is forgetting. I've forgotten my true nature. I'm asleep. It's ignorance. It's the veil of Maya. It's illusion. So what does that look like? That asleepness, that that asleep nature looks like fear. That's one way it manifests, right? Is fear. Fear of the future. Fear that I don't have enough money. Even when I have enough money. I don't know about you, but this is definitely a quality of mine. It doesn't matter how much money I have. I never have enough of it. Can anybody else relate to this? Or am I the only one? Okay. Fear of the what if scenario. Have a secure job, have income coming, but what if it stops? Isn't that sick? That's sick. That's sheep-like, right? Fear of getting sick. I'm fine. I'm not sick. I just had a clean bill of health. But what if I get sick? I even think the flu shot, I mean, I'm not promoting, but I'm saying that the flu shot, I think it's motivated by fear. I got one because I'm afraid I'm going to get it. So then I got it and I got sick anyway. What reaction of the shot? Fear of loved ones dying, fear of my own death, right? Because isn't that the worst case scenario? The worst case of all of the things that could ever happen, the worst to you, is your own death. But the Gita says the self is not killed when the body is slain. Being a sheep or being in this asleep state is also manifested in our anger. In our anger about things that didn't go our way, about resentment from the past, getting stuck in the past, injuries that happened a long, long time ago. My guru said, one time I emailed him this really long email about stuff that I was like, I just couldn't stop obsessing on it about the past. And he wrote me back and he said, this is just one story. I was like really annoyed. I was like, aren't you going to validate that I'm upset about this? You know, this really happened to me. It's just one story of millions. You know, at the time when you were, you know, and that happened to you by this person, it's one story. Being asleep or being like a sheep also manifests in our feeling of loneliness. I don't know if anybody can relate to this, but sometimes I feel lonely in a room of 1,000 people. How's that possible? What is that loneliness about? And this is, you know, hey, look, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I could go on and on. All I'm talking about here is that in my head and what is surrounding me in this asleep state. In the spiritual sense, we're just scratching the surface here, right? This description of this limited life we live when we are asleep. We live in a very limited place because in this limited existence of ours, in the smaller self, not the higher self, in this smaller self, we live in a box. And we can't really go out of the compound. We are like sheep in a gate. And it's not a nice gated community. It's, you know, we can't get out. We can't see beyond. We think that our abundance lies only in our bank account. But if we tap into the true nature of who we are, our real I am self, then the abundance of this universe is endless. It's endless. And right away, we're thinking, that sounds like great, more money. Totally not what I'm talking about. Because this is an inside job. Right? Chardin said, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. I say that over and over. Well, I could say that till the cows come home or the sheep come home, and I keep forgetting that. You see, because there's power lies in that statement. If I am really a spiritual being having a human experience, I am boundless. I am this lion, right? So I was thinking the other day about how Here's this source, spirit, God, Allah, Yahweh. Look, lots of names. God's like a gang member. He's got a lot of names. They're just nicknames. The true essence of spirit is this oneness, right? This light, this divine love. That's what spirit is. So there's this love, loving so much that it just like expands into creation, and it creates this name and form. It creates this Maya. It creates this illusion out of love. Out of this love, that it's so much love that it can't like bear it. So it's just like, and now we're here. And then I'm here and it's like, I'm all alone. I'm all alone, I'm scared. I'm all alone, oh, wait a second, it's all about me. Self-centeredness, ego. And then suddenly I start recognizing, I start waking up a little bit at a time. In the morning, when you start to wake up, are you fully awake, or does it take some time? It takes some time, right? So when you're in between the true waking up state, and you're in that, I don't know, what should I do? Do I have to go anywhere? Where am I? In that state, I went from aloneness, ego, to separateness, oh, God is there, and I am here. Duality. At least I'm not alone, I have God, right? So I pray to God. Oh God, please give me more things. Oh God, please, I'm so afraid. Oh God, please. I'm here, God is there. Separateness. And not only is God there, and I'm saying God for lack of a better word, okay? We all can like kind of relate to that, like source, right? So there's source, here am I, and I pray to this. And then not only am I separate from this, but I am separate from you. Okay, so that I go from aloneness, ego, to duality, separateness, here's God. I mean, this is better than being alone. But the goal of really waking up is recognizing that I am not separate and that there's no duality. And if there's no duality and I am not separate from this source, that I am of the same essence of this source, so are you. And I'm not separate from you. And that's oneness. And so, until I wake up, what do I do? You know, they say when you're trying to wake up, you gotta get out of bed, get vertical, they say, right? So what do I do while I'm trying to wake up? First of all, honor and accept those other lions in your life that are happening. Instead of shunning them, instead of being afraid of them, instead of saying, oh my God, I can't believe I'm in this crisis, this is a lion pulling your ear, showing you your reflection. Surrender to it. Go within, because within is where the voice lies. The still voice within. Be in the now moment. Listen to your intuitive voice, because here's what it's saying. You're a lion.